Hi, everybody. Dan Miller here, Historical Solutions LLC. Good morning. It is the 11th day of September 2025. I am decided to throw this together quickly and get it out to you just as quickly as I can. It's an interesting in the sense of tragic, and tragedy can be interesting, day. Coming in light of a lot of things that have happened both in the recent past, as in 24 hours, and in the more distant past, as in 24 years. So I felt compelled to say a little bit of something more along the lines of the recent past. In I'll take you back to 2021. I was working on a variety of things about the pandemic, and more specifically, and I thought of more value for you was for me to spend my focus on the future, the more forecasting kind of thing for downriver after the pandemic. And so I went back, as you may remember, I went back and looked at the after pandemic of 100 years prior, which was 1921-ish forward, so the 1920s, and came up with 8 things. And I had a lot of people talking to me at that point in time. This is 2021, about what did I think of, what did the past suggest about going forward, and I said that the divisions of the time will get worse, and people were a little surprised by me saying that. And so, how do you mean, Dan? And I don't know, but I can tell you, if you believe in rhyming at all, which of course I do. You may not, but I do. If you believe in that at all, then the truth of it is, when you looked back at the 100 years prior into that 20s, coming out of that combination of pandemic and World War populism, or I'm sorry, World War One. Coming out of that things were going to get more divisive and not less. And I think that, so the rhyme was going to be with that. And so I said, I think things are going to get more divisive. And what do you mean, Dan? And I said, I don't know, but I think they will. And so here we are. My reason for doing Americanism Redux, that was one of the 8 points. We were going to have a second go round of the major birthday of the Declaration of Independence. Theirs was 150, ours is 250. So a second round of Americanism, which was a term of that era, the years leading up to that era, Americanism was the term. And so we're going to have a chance to see it again, do it again, feel it again, redux. And so I pegged that point, that birthday point of the 250, along with their 150. I pegged that future point as, we're going to see more division as we get closer to the big birthday. We're going to see more nastiness, bitterness, and those kinds of things, not less. And so that's what's on my mind as I think about what happened yesterday at Utah, and honestly, what happened yesterday at Colorado, and then what happened a few days ahead of that in North Carolina. So one of these is straight out political assassination. The other two are other kinds of things. But my point for that, and making it a bit of a trio, is that the other two will get swept into the divisions that are swirling and circling and spinning around our political world, our political life, our polity. So they'll get caught into it and spun on inside of that as a dynamic force, and so it'll get worse now, and it'll probably continue to get worse. So I do want to, though, leave you with something. Well, so if that's a bit of a unpleasant forecast, what else do you have to say, Dan? Hang on, let me sip this. I do have something else to say that's not quite that way. And it's this. I had a chance to hang out with 35 great people the other night talking about the beginning of the 250. In other words, the first year of that 250. So this was 1776, and I had them spend some time mentally in a boat, a Durham boat to be specific. You can look it up, Durham. And you can get about 12 guys in a Durham boat in 1776. This is the boat, the kind of boat that's used to convey George Washington's force across the Delaware River on the night of December 26th, the early morning of December 27th. These are great structures. They can take a lot of weight and draw only a little water. So these were the things that Washington wanted to use, as many as he could, to get his 2,400 men across the river to attack the Germans, and on and on. So we got in the boat, mentally, got in the boat. I had the dimensions out there. I had a chair there that represents a seat and everything that's also part of that. So they make it to the other side, despite tremendous odds and tremendously understandable reasons to not make it to the other side. They get out of the boat on the other side. They recollect over the course of about 2 hours in a driving sleet storm, which means it makes every weapon almost useless in terms of dry gunpowder. There's no such thing as dry gunpowder on that far side of the Delaware River. There's no such thing, and Washington gets informed of this. We're running late. We're way late beyond what our plan says we should be. We have no working, functioning powdered weapons. And so, General, what do you want to do? He doesn't know the worst news, which is that there's 2 other operations designed to go across the river as part of a 3-pronged approach. 2 of them have turned back for all good reasons. I don't think he knows that as part of this 2 a.m. Report and update. So what do you want to do? He says, tell them to use the bayonets. Tell them to use the knives at the end of their guns. That's not unusable. I am resolved to take Trenton. Because after all, he'd written the code word victory or death for that night. There's little slips of paper and a few coat pockets of officers scattered up and down that particular part of the far shore of the Delaware River, and victory or death. I am resolved to take Trenton. You know the rest of the story, or up to a point you do. They win, they succeed. There's victory. There's another victory, another winning, another doing things positively from the American perspective. There's another victory at Princeton a week and a half or so later. Third victory is hanging out there. Washington thought, we can get it, we can do it. Oh man, this is going to be there's a horse racing term, trifecta. This is going to be a trifecta for this third one. And the guys say, no, we're going home. We're not doing that one. So Washington has to shrug and say, boy, that's a heck of a missed opportunity. And that's 1776, and there's 7 more years of war. There's 7 more years of setbacks. There's 7 more years of disappointments and thoughts that this thing could still collapse. But they were victorious. So there's your brighter sky. Right now you're in the sleet on that far shore. You're freezing, your weapon's useless, and you're thinking, this is pointless. But I am resolved to take Trenton. So let's get in the boat. Let's get across to the other side, despite all the things that are in our way. Let's get in the boat. We'll get out. We'll recollect. And we'll press forward. And yeah, there's going to be some toughness to it. But downriver, there'll be victories coming. But you got to get in the boat. And then you got to get out of the boat. And then you got to recollect from that point of the boat. I'm Dan Miller, Historical Solutions, LLC. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Wish you all the best. Talk to you soon.